Sunday the 14th of March, Mothering Sunday. Lent reading number 26, Family Photos. Who is my family? While he was speaking to the crowds, Jesus' mother and his brothers were standing outside wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Look, your mother and brothers are outside wanting to speak to you." But to the one who told him this, Jesus replied, "Who is my brother, and who are my brothers?" Pointing to the disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and brothers. Whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and my sister and my mother." Our attitude towards and use of the word family is not as straightforward or consistent as we might think. It's easy to think our family is made up of wife, husband, children, parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, cousins, nieces, nephews, and by extension in-laws. These are all to be found in the Table of Kindred and Affinity at the back of the Book of Common Prayer, which defines who may or may not marry whom. As such, it's become a sort of definition of who is in a family, but that never was its intention, nor is it accurate then or now. The diarist Samuel Pepys described his family as including not only his wife but also his servant. The origin of this use may lie in the fact that the Latin word famulus means a slave, and familia indicates ownership of someone. The head of the household was not considered to be a member of the family, but the one to whom they were all subservient. Shakespeare reminds us in Romeo and Juliet, which is about two families, that one's family included everyone under the same roof, whereas it was one's friends who were the blood relatives. Nowadays the words have been almost reversed, although some organisations are beginning to use the word family as a friendly, inclusive way of describing a group of people with a common interest who love and look after one another. In this way, we can speak of the scouting family, and as in many communities, the church family. The idea of the modern nuclear family, two parents and one or two children of their own, has expanded in recent years to accommodate a broader norm that reflects a greater prevalence of divorce, remarriage, partnerships outside marriage, such that the interrelationships between members of a single household are much more fluid and disparate. Collections of stepchildren and step-parents cohabit in various permutations. The widening of the concept of marriage in many countries introduces another dimension, and whilst there is controversy about whether marriage must involve a man and a woman, no one disputes the use of the word family to describe the core of relationships created under the home roof that extends to a wider network of relations. More so than ever, families come in different shapes and sizes and are defined by a variety of considerations: love, friendship, kinship, money and convenience. A glance at any of the family photographs in your home may confirm this range of possibilities. Every family has its stories and anecdotes about members past and present, has its things that are talked about and not talked about, which could be matters that are scandalous, tragic, painful, or of course funny. Every family member has opinions about every other family member, and the family photo album serves as an aid memoir, speaking to us of affection and happy memories. These pictures also provide the impetus for family storytelling, and this encourages and builds up the sense of relatedness among family members past and present. This is especially true as family members learn to recognise their ancestors and distant relatives, connecting them to the bigger picture of the wider family, their stories, lives and relationships. Modern technology aside, this is hardly a new practice. Matthew opens his Gospel with a lengthy account of Jesus' genealogy, which tells us that it mattered to first century Palestinians as much as it does to us today who your parents were. If we combine this phenomenon with the commandment to honour one's father and mother, we then see Jesus' apparent rejection of Mary and her children as quite revolutionary. Whether or not we take the view that Jesus had step-brothers and sisters born to Mary after his own birth, there's certainly a family unit active here. Moreover, the absence of Joseph or any other paternal figure in the scene could mean that Mary is a widow, which makes Jesus' dismissal even worse. On the other hand, we need not see this incident as Jesus disowning his family, but rather as Jesus redefining the notion of family, being neither the first nor the last to do so. Remembering that we are to some extent imposing a modern definition, the nuclear family, onto the concept, we may see in this scene that Jesus is highlighting and affirming new bonds of connectedness that are not based on kinship but on common purpose, affection or service. Jesus' words have affected Christian living ever since. It's very much in the spirit of the family of those who seek to do the will of God that churches speak of the church family today. A group of people who gather together under God's roof in love and learning, worship and work for the kingdom. Nevertheless, the church, the ecclesia, are those who gather together to be sent out into the world with the gospel, ecclesia, meaning called out. This is a long way from the ownership that we found in Samuel Pepys' family. Yet we do own our friends and loved ones in the best sense of the word, and in having portraits of them, we extend our relationship to include them in their absence, even beyond the grave. The choice as to whose portrait or which wedding photo adorns the mantelpiece or sideboard is ours, and as often as not we see reflected in the photograph the faces of those we love, associated with events we cherish. The camera is a mirror with a memory, and in the faces of family photos we form and continue inner fellowship with the living and the dead, just as our ancestors and their families did with paintings. Yet we're also members of Christ's family, striving to do his Father's will, united as such with all the saints, some of whom we may even have portraits of at home. Let's pray. God of love, whose Son Jesus Christ shared the family home in Nazareth, draw the whole human family to yourself, and grant that all human families may dwell in love and peace and mutual care always. Amen.